They are the shots that rang around the world. An assassination attempt on Donald Trump, hit in the ear by a bullet. If he was facing a slightly different way, he likely would have been killed. The assassin was killed by the Secret Service. It's going to have a huge impact, of course, on the election. How many conspiracy theories will flourish, and is there something to the fact this threat wasn't better sorted out? Joining me live now, Dr James Mortensen, who's a lecturer at the ANU National Security College. Thanks for your time. As to what we know, the sort of facts versus fiction, I guess. Lone gunman, 20-year-old, registered with the Republican Party, but a progressive donor as well. It's described as very intelligent. So what do we know here that we can piece together so far, I suppose?
Very, very little, really. And I think, unfortunately, it's one of those cases where the more we know, the more confusing it gets. As you say, donor to a Republican, to a Democrat cause, registered member of the Republican Party. We know that his parents' affiliations are also split. Mother Democrat, father on the more Republican side. I'm of the understanding at this point that in investigating his internet history, social media use, etc., there's been none of the sort of telltale signs that most people would expect to see. It's all a bit of a mystery with regards to that.
Well, through other assassination attempts, they have been sadly common in the US. What do previous investigations usually reveal? Because there's this fevered attempts on both sides, particularly on social media, to sort of apportion blame, and this is why. What usually emerges when we see a shooter like this act?
I hesitate to draw too many conclusions from history, especially now. I think this particular situation being a bit volatile. On the issue of, obviously, each side to a degree is willing to throw speculation out there. Obviously, there's been speculation that it's a false flag on the part of Trump. There's been speculation that there is on the flip side that it's some sort of, again, conspiracy sort of coup from the government. Interesting analysis of social media by a couple of think tanks and analysis companies have shown that a large proportion, especially if you follow hashtags, right? So like false hashtags about false assassination, that sort of thing, that almost 50% are confirmed fake accounts. Right. Keeping in mind that 50% as a confirmation that's your baseline. That's not your real number. It seems to me the overwhelming response on social media has tended to be conciliatory.
Yeah. From the real accounts.
Yeah, from what we can tell in the early stages.
Delving through the theories, so the false flag, or that the Trump team is in on it. Problems with that, I guess, first of all, it hit him in the ear. If it's a different angle, he's dead.
You don't want to take a risk like that, I'd reckon.
And maybe they weren't meant to do that, but that seems an incredible coincidence. So for him to have been in on that in that way, that sort of fails at the first hurdle of logic, at least from where I sit.
Yeah, I think both sides, we don't know. I certainly don't know. I've got no special information, but I think on both sides, the idea that it's perpetrated or orchestrated by either side is ridiculous. Obviously, if you're Trump, you don't want to get shot in the ear at all. You don't want to get shot. You probably don't even want someone shooting near you.
You don't want it 10 metres away.
Yeah, and on the flip side of things, obviously don't subscribe to the election theft theory, but if you can steal an election, I don't know why you got to kill a guy. So on both sides, I will go back on your previous question though. Yeah. If there is something that we can tell from history, and maybe a good way to get into it is to whatever degree we want to look at the people who have tried to perpetrate these sorts of acts before, they're generally, they don't really see themselves as making much of an impact in any other way. They're generally the sort of people, and this isn't true of broader conspiracy theories, what's this guy's motive? We don't know, and I'm certainly not going to speculate. But as a general rule, at least looking back at Reagan, at RFK, JFK, we're talking about people who are not particularly stable. Unfortunately.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
The other element that people look at, the Secret Service, and in some way they want it to happen, a problem on the surface for me is you're going to get you've got every single agent somehow in on this. Not to say there aren't questions around. All these eyewitnesses were saying they could see someone on the roof. It was a relatively close distance. So this seems to have been a security failure, and that's why people are jumping on the Secret Service. But then is it sort of conspiracy versus incompetence, the age-old question?
Yeah, and look, I haven't gone over, that's certainly not necessarily my area of expertise, but I would certainly err on the side of anybody who's going to complain about what the Secret Service did or didn't. I'd be interested to see if they've ever been shot at. I presume not. It's very easy to second guess response to these sorts of crazy situations.
You can see straight away, they're literally running in and willing to have a bullet on any part of their body.
Whether there was I don't think it's unfair to characterise anything in a situation like that as a failure.
Yeah, so you think that's a bit overdone?
I think that people can only do the best they can do.
Yeah.
No one was expecting it. Whether or not they should have expected,
all right.
That's for law enforcement, I think, to comb over later.
James Mortensen, appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.